if your minds are capable of making sense of anything, what if your minds are altered or affected by something else? Topic today is prison break. This is going to be one of my favorites.
Great morning, world! Welcome to the Rise Up with Dragon podcast with your host, Dragon!
Great morning, world. This is your boy, Dragon, coming to you on the 17th of September. First thought that comes into my mind before we jump into this, and I've got some cool things that I want to add to the normal flow. Topic today is prison break. This is going to be one of my favorites. But one of the observations that I made the other day, because as you know, we just went through, I don't want to use the word celebrating, but honoring and acknowledging the tragedy that happened on September 11th. For those that don't know, I was actually there that morning, and I'll never forget it. I came out of a subway right after the first plane had hit, and I was right there. I was on. I came up out of a subway on Canal and Broadway, and I was actually heading down to Trinity Church, and I saw that, and everybody thought it was a mistake. So anyway, the whole, without getting too far into it, I was one of the people running from the smoke and all that stuff. I was just there that day. So it took me 6 years to go back to the city, and, lost a lot of friends and everything like that. But what was interesting about this past day, I saw all these people posting, never forget, remember, and the Twin Towers and all that stuff. And I had no urge to remember that day. It's not that I want to forget it, because I'll never forget it, but there was no desire or urge for me to celebrate it in any way and honor it. It was interesting. It's the first time I acknowledged that. So great morning, everybody. This is Prison Break. For those of you that are watching the video portion on the Rise Up with Dragon Facebook page or on LinkedIn, I'm wearing glasses today. I'm going to take them off in a second because I got to put my Make Sense glasses on, or else nothing will make sense. I'm wearing glasses today. I'm just curious how many people. I'm 50 years old, and when I was in high school, Ray-Bans were coming in and maybe Oakley's on the side, but the hottest glasses around were called Varney glasses. Now, Varney is, if you've never heard of that, it's V-U-A-R-N-E-T. Now, I liked Varney because I'm French and they're French, but in the world of cool glasses and skiing, Varney was the bomb. And I think I used to pay $80 for them. Now they're $350. But I just bought a new pair of Varneys, and I'm so shocked that so few people know what Varneys are. So one of the questions, that you can put in any sort of a comment or, anything like that is, have you ever heard of Varneys? Great morning, Kevin Long on LinkedIn. Okay, so before I start today, let me first of all take my Varneys off and put my Make Sense glasses on, because I would be fucked without them. Okay, much better. Now everything makes sense. I am really, really fascinated with, and this is an interesting thought that I challenge everybody to think about. One of the things in my book is that I'm very, very passionate about is this concept, and it unveils a little bit of a flaw, or a big flaw, in personal growth and self-development. And it is that, just like Alcoholics Anonymous or some sort of a support group, you need to have a problem to get in. So if you think about it, just stop and become aware of the fact that most people seek out personal growth and self-development to address, issues that are holding them back, right? So I've always been very, very passionate about the fact, why don't we teach these fundamentals of personal growth and self-development to children? In fact, I challenge the greats out there that get paid tons and tons of money to go, speak to large crowds of people. I always challenge them, can you explain those philosophies to a 6-year-old so that they can know them and not get fucked up and need them. So that's just always been a passion of mine. So I've got my own take on it, and it'll be in my book. But I discovered in all my studies of Stoic philosophy, I came across something that I've always known about, but I never really put two and two together, and that is Aesop's fables. And I know a lot of you have heard that. So here's the book, just of some real popular ones. So I want to start reading some Aesop's fables, because that's what is going on in this book. Is they tell these little fables that tell like really, really powerful, pivotal stories that kids can totally dig. So what we're going to start doing is reading these to our little ducky, and taking that 11-year-old brain and start to teach, give the kung fu skills to the kid, so that they could maybe use them and not get fucked up and then need to go to a seminar one day, right? So this one, I'm going to read this quickly. This one is called The Lion and the Four Bulls. This is a really cool story. So we're recording this if you miss it. So 4 bulls were such great friends. So picture this. 4 bulls were such great friends that they always ate together. So there's 4 bulls, they always eat together. And then there's a lion watching them for many, many days with longing eyes for obvious reasons, right? But since they were never far apart, these 4 bulls, never far apart from one another, he was afraid to attack them, right? Bad idea for a lion to attack 4 bulls that are in strength and numbers. So at length, what the lion decided to do is he succeeded in making them jealous of one another. This is a fable. The lion succeeded in making them jealous of one another, and their jealousy of one another eventually turned into a mutual aversion of one another. So just think about how jealousy affects you. When they strayed far from one another because of that mutual aversion, the lion fell upon them singly and killed one of them, right? Or actually killed them all. So the moral of the story, here's Aesop's fable. Moral of the story is the quarrels of friends are the opportunities of enemies. Man, isn't that awesome? Isn't that awesome? What a lesson to teach an adult or the child in the adult. Just quickly, I've been getting a lot of feedback. First of all, our newsletter is just awesome, and it comes out on Mondays. All you got to do is free newsletter, and I go deep with a blog, and then we always highlight some of our guests and fun stuff coming up, including the online course and everything. So if you go to riseupwithdragon.com, you'll get something that will pop up. Just sign up for the newsletter and you'll get it. So just quickly, I want to show my recent book trail. What I do is I read a book every week, and a lot of people ask me what books I'm reading. So what a book trail is I read a book and then I find something out from that book that motivates me to read another book. So I read amazing book. She's going to be on our show eventually. Susan David. She's a psychologist, called Emotional Agility. Fantastic book. And then after that, I read this just crazy cool book called Black Swan, The Black Swan. The Black Swan just refers to like uncommon, unpredictable events, random events that end up being like massively powerful and changing the world, really, really cool insight. Then took me to Viktor Frankl. Now, I've been talking about Viktor Frankl for a long time, but I've never actually read his book. So I'm going to finish that today or tomorrow. Man's Search for Meaning. Fantastic book. And then the next one for those following along is Yuval Noah Harari, who wrote Sapiens. This is supposed to be a killer book. So I got this one on deck, 21 Lessons for the 21st Century. So I want to give a shout out to my good friend Jim Quick for his speed reading expertise, because that's how I've gotten myself to read a book a week. And then another shout out to my brother and author of the 12 Shifts, and that's Jamil Fraser. I'm actually wearing 2 things of his today. I'm wearing his Think Life is Different hat, and then I'm also wearing his Your Goals Don't Give a Damn shirt. So shout out to my brother Jamil. Okay, so let's jump into Prison Break. Now, this is one of my favorite topics, and this is definitely in my book. But I was motivated to write about this the other day because I was reading, and I believe it was in Viktor Frankl's book, and I heard him reference the way our brains work in a way that I never heard before. And he said, he goes, our minds are wonderful explanation machines. Just absorb that for a second. How cool is that? Our minds are wonderful explanation machines. So it's a different way of looking at your mind. Your mind is this mechanism that is this wet piece of meat that exists in your skull, and it's bathed in fluid, and just, I don't know what the hell that's all about, right? But anyway, what it's there to do is receive information, explain it, and then, create some sort of a reaction and a response and a perception and all that stuff, hopefully some action. So that set forth this whole rise up, just reading that. So for those of you that are journaling, if you're reading a lot, what happens is when you read, and I know this happens to all of you, you'll get like a cool idea. And sometimes you'll underline it, you'll highlight it. Sometimes people go to the next level and write about it. When you write about the idea, like I heard that, he says, the mind is a wonderful explanation machine. I started writing about it. I ended up with just this really, really cool rise up just from that. And it turned into the prison break. So, wonderful explanation machines that are capable of making sense of almost anything. Now, what's interesting is our brains. What's up, Chris Dutra? How are you, my man? That's a guy, funny that he's popping in here. He's on LinkedIn. This guy is a guy I know from the old days when we used to coach our kids in football. But he was like one of the dudes that like ran the whole league. So big shout out to all those parents out there that like step out for like no money at all and just like run leagues for other kids and parents and stuff. But boy, has football changed, and his kids are just kicking ass in sports in college. So what's up, my brother? So our minds are wonderful explanation machines that are capable of making sense of almost anything. But here's the catch. If your minds are capable of making sense of anything, what if your minds are altered or affected by something else? The question is what it is that you call making sense of something. It might be affected by something else. So that's where I'm kind of going here. So the only challenge is whether the sense that we make is fact or fiction. Isn't that an interesting thought to think about when that moment of clarity happens and you say, oh, that makes sense, right? Which is very much part of my book. When something happens and you process it in your brain, right? And you say that makes sense. Is the sense that you made fact or fiction? Well, you have to go back and kind of like look at how your brain's been programmed. It's been programmed by a bunch of others, right? And right now, God, I've been really, really interested in observing how human beings are just spending a lot of time taking things that they're consuming on a regular basis from TV and news and whatever and hearsay, forming an opinion about it. And the moment you form an opinion about something, by the way, you close off the opportunity to see another side. That's been a fascinating observation. Not saying it's good or bad. I'm just in observation of it. And then I see them going on social media and taking a stand on their opinion. And the way my brain works is I understand how they came to that conclusion, and it has to do with their mother, father, teacher, preacher, and whatever it is that they're consuming on a regular basis. Whatever you consume on a regular basis can program your brain to buy into anything, right? So my suggestion is consider shifting right now and consuming things on a regular basis that are positive and forward moving, because you could spend the rest of your life defending your opinion about something that's really shitty. Remember, you're in control of your fantasy. So is it fact or fiction? So remember, these machines, these explanation machines, are running explanation programs that have been programmed by others that may not have had the ability to consider other potential scenarios due to their fixed mindsets. I very often look at stuff that I've learned from my dad and my mom and my programmers, right? My teachers, preachers, all that stuff. I look at that stuff and I always like to stop and I go, I wonder where they got those ideas right? And I wonder if they've bought into their opinions and gave it value and then decided to share it with me. So it gives me the opportunity to like say, well, hold on a second, distance myself from it, which is the whole system that I teach in my book. And just think about it first, right? So my gift to you today is if you have an opinion about something, and I'm not saying it's wrong, right? Because to be honest with you, I don't know what is right or wrong. I like to just remain open and look at all sides and be quiet. 2 ears, 1 mouth, right? So 2 eyes, 2 ears, 1 mouth. So just question that. Just say, where did I get that idea? And is there another side to it? If you can't do that, then you're closed, and you might remain closed for a long time. And stores don't operate well when they're closed. Isn't that interesting? So in any case, others that didn't have the ability to consider other potential opportunities because of their fixed mindset. So are you making sense of things with your explanation machine with a fixed mindset given to you by your programmers, right? Is this potentially why you may be in a stuck oscillating structure right now, rocking chair back and forth, trying to get into town, right? So my goal with this podcast is to kind of help people take their blindfolds off and see things. I'm not selling anything here. I'm not selling any ideas. The only thing I'm really selling and pitching is the idea of rising up and waking up and looking at all sides, which is not easy. This is something I've been working on for a long time. So is this potentially why you're stuck and in that oscillating pattern? So this reminds me of one of the greatest books that I ever read. And that is Thinking Fast and Slow, and that's by Kahneman. And he makes these distinctions of fast and slow thinking with system 1 and system 2. He refers to the 2 different ways that our brains operate with 2 systems, system 1 and system 2. So basically, system 1 is our stress response system, our knee-jerk reaction. System 1 operates automatically and quickly. It's completely out of your control. Side note, Chicken and I were talking to each other this morning in our little session. That's one of the things that we do as a married couple. We always sit down and talk to each other for at least an hour every day in the morning before we start our day. And we were making a cool observation of how my system basically, in a nutshell, teaches people to create space between the stimulus and the response. Like before you react to something, think about it first, look at it differently, and then create a rational, logical response that's in support of what you want. We were making an observation that a lot of her patients, she takes care of people with bipolar personality disorder and things like that. It's interesting how part of the snag with some of those disorders or someone experiencing anxiety or depression, it limits or gets rid of people's ability to create that space. So those people are very often flying off the handle very quickly, including a lot of people that are buying into propaganda right now. Not too much different. But what they're doing is they're flying off the hand really quickly because they're only operating with system 1, the automatic quick response, where there's little to no effort or sense of voluntary control. You just say, hey, that's who I am. This is my belief system, and I'm just going to let it flow. System 2, the other way, allocates attention and time for the effortful, right? This is the problem with system 2, is it takes effort. For the effortful mental activities that demand it, including complex computations, right? Here's what's funny. If we're allowing our explanation machines to spit out answers as they may, right? We're running system 1 and we're risking an outcome that we've been programmed to see. Think about that for a second. If you're just allowing your brain and your body, which follows, to run on system 1, you're taking a big risk because you're not allowing yourself to look at different outcomes. So here's what I would recommend to everybody. If you're noticed that you're oscillating, like you go on runs, you get motivated and you go after something and then it stops, you're probably running on a rigid program, meaning you've brought something that you've learned and you're sticking to it. I was talking to one of my coaches the other day that was in very, very massive growth right, in their life and in their business. And then once they reached that growth, they went and started to change a couple of their systems that they've used to create that growth, which is a natural thing. When somebody emerges as a leader in their life, they have a tendency of like putting their own flair and technique into things. But then, so they became rigid over time with those new techniques, and noticed that growth had slowed down as a result of that shift, but they stuck to it. That they said, that's who I am. I'm going to keep trying. So I think a lot of us get caught up in this. I'm just going to put the hard work in and I'm going to keep going, even though they kind of know in a little corner of their brain that it ain't working. So you understand system 1 and system 2. So if we slow things down, this is what's interesting about system 2. If we slow things down and we bypass the system 1 urge, you'll see where this is going with the mental prison. If we slow things down and we bypass, that's what happens when you pause. You bypass the knee-jerk reaction, that system 1 urge. It's an urge to just react. You know, when somebody's talking and you want to start talking before they're finished talking, that's part of system 1. So if you slow it down and you bypass that urge and ask questions in connection with your desired state, we can gain access to the part of our brain that may not yet be infected by the programmers. So stop and listen to that for 1 second. Parts of your brain are still uninfected. Even if you're watching the news every day, it's kind of like if you're a smoker, right? And then somebody says, hey, if you stop smoking right now, you can slowly start to reverse. Your brain is the same way. And your brain is this machine, this explanation machine that's just running a program that it's been taught. But there's little pockets of white space in your brain that will eventually, should you start using them and use them with consistency and start consuming things that are forward moving, they will overtake the other and you'll create a new normal, right? You'll create a new unconscious normal where you're actually moving forward. Wouldn't it be cool if you had an automatic system 1 response because you spent like years doing things that are positive for your brain? Wouldn't it be cool if you had an automatic system 1 response that was good for you, that moved you forward? Well, I would assume that's how you see these amazingly successful and happy and fulfilled people. They've done that. They did the things that were leveraging and moving them where they wanted to go and stayed away, minimized people and things and actions that were disadvantageous. And that's why they succeed. Anybody can do that. Anybody is in control of their success if they learn a different response system. So here's what's interesting is all of that stuff that I'm talking about, it requires thinking. And the problem with thinking is that thinking is time consuming and generally a waste of energy. It's a time suck. Isn't that funny to think? Like, we know we're supposed to think, but why don't we? Why do we allow system 1 to always happen? It's easier. It's easier. So if we say, I'm going to start thinking first, it's a time suck. It's an energy suck. And you're now taking a risk of potentially wasting time. So that's why most people refrain from thinking, because it requires effort. Isn't that interesting? It's interesting to also observe that the same thing happens within the realm of success and going after your dreams. Another major inconvenient time sucker. Success, going after your dreams. Everybody that you speak to will all agree that success comes to those that make a decision on what they want and then make a secondary decision and support what they want by doing the things that you know, somebody ahead of them that has what they want has determined leverages it, and they do it over and over and over and over again, and then they win. It's a time sucker, right? It's so much easier to not do anything in life and let time fly by. But the sticky part there is we forget that we don't know how much time we have. So the moment that you see a human being find out that they're running out of time, and by the way, you're all running out of time. You're all running out of time. Some of you way faster than others. Some of you really, really fast, right? So take that as a motivation to go into action and take a little bit of time and put some effort into thinking first so that you can slow things down and make better decisions. So this system is running all the time and resembles the action principles of a rocking chair. So I love the analogy of a rocking chair. You know, our thoughts, feelings, and actions focus on our desired outcome or destination, right? That's the rocking chair. So the rocking chair moves forward, gets a glimpse of what's entailed in system 2, the effort. Then our programmed explanation machine, which is not our fault, kicks in and in a split second makes a decision to either flight or freeze on the perceived effort and work entailed and belief in your ability to succeed at it, you know, whether the risk is worth it or not. And boom, it kicks into system 1. That happens in a split second. So your brain observes the risk associated with it, the effort, the time, and that's the rocking chair goes forward towards your dream. And then all of a sudden your system kicks in and goes, hell no, get back. And then you rock back. So your perception is you're not getting anywhere because you're oscillating, moving forward and back in the rocking chair. But the truth is that you're the one that rocks it forward or backwards. Once you realize that and you take control of it, boom, everything changes. So then the program's defense mechanism, right, gets you out of the commitment. And that's the system 1, gets you out of the commitment before it's made and gives you options and scenarios to justify it. That's another interesting thing is when you get out of the commitment, we have this ability in our brain to pretend that it was a good idea, right? That's like when I speak to somebody and I say, hey man, I can help you. Like my program can help anybody get physically healthy, and on a healthy body rests a healthy mind. And I can teach people how to make money from home and all this fun stuff. So everybody looks at that and they rock forward in the chair and they go, ooh, ooh, ooh. But then in our conversation, and I'm like, yeah, but you got to get out of bed in the morning. You got to eat every 3 hours. You got to drink water. And you got to talk to people and all this stuff. Boom. All of a sudden they assess that. And then system 1 kicks in and they rock back, they back off of it, but they do it skillfully and their kung fu is so strong. What they'll then say is they'll justify why it's a bad time. I'm so bewildered by people that I offer everything that they desire. I give them the tools and the vehicle to have everything they desire, and they say it's not a good time. Once again, forgetting about that immortality thing, right? The mortality mentality. So here they say bad timing, no money, my stomach hurts, or something else came up, right? I was talking to somebody today, and this person was basically, you know, engaging, rocking forward in the rocking chair, and some real challenging shit happened in their lives, right? Which I totally understand, you know, and their response was, now's not a good time. I need to back off right now. So unbeknownst to them, they're rocking back in their chair. This is the mental prison, by the way. So when they rock back in the chair, that's when they come up with, hey, it's a bad time, too much stuff, I'm overwhelmed, I'm going to back off right now. So one of the things that I love to say to those people, and I wish somebody said it to me when I used to be in this oscillating pattern, is I love to say that the universe gives us hard times as an obstacle course to see how hard and how bad and to what degree we desire the outcome that's ahead of us. So think about that for a second. If you're having a hard time, and sometimes we have a really hard time, and you're saying that that is why you need to rock back in your chair, that's the mental prison, by the way. What's going on is you're not aware of the fact that the hard times are actually there for a reason. That's why the Stoics say the obstacle is the way. Hard times are there as an obstacle course that you need to navigate, go up, under, over, you know, around in order to get to success. So anybody that has success and you interview them tells you that they're not special. The only thing that makes them special is they went through the obstacle course rather than ran away from it. So if you're having a hard time, maybe that'll help you. So that's the back of the rocking chair, right? When you back off. So then in the safety yet frustration and lack of progress, this is the other part of it, right? Because then we got to have a reason to move forward again, right? So then in the safety yet frustration and lack of progress in the back rock, your desire to move forward kicks back in because nobody wants to suck. Nobody wants to rock back and suck, right? Does anybody want to suck? Raise your hand if you want to suck, you know? So the forward kick, or the idea of it, it kicks back in, and then the oscillating pattern begins to repeat. Now, this is analogous to being locked in a mental prison. That's why I call this locked in a mental prison, yet it's the worst kind of prison. This is the worst kind of a prison. It's one thing to be locked in a prison and there's a warden and there's a prison guard and they have the key and they close the door and you're locked. This is the worst kind of prison because this prison teases you multiple times a day by showing you the door out. When you're in an oscillating pattern and you keep on backing off of things, that's the mental prison. And now you know why, right? If you just become if you just gain the ability to observe this, your life will change. But every time you get a glimpse of it going forward, it shows you the way out, the door out. Then the prison guard slams the door shut and says, ha ha, right? That's what's happening all day if you're in an oscillating pattern. And by the way, P.S., you're the prison guard, which quadruple sucks because then you start saying things like, when you realize that it's you that's closing the door, opening the door and closing the door. Once you realize that, the reason why that like quadruple sucks is that it means that it's all you. And then those people start saying to me, hey, JC, I just need to get out of my own way, right? They say, hey, if I could just get out of my own way, everything would be fine. And that costs a lot of money in seminars, right? Isn't it expensive to try to get out of your own way? I see so many people. I mean, I love seminars, right? But I go to them for a different reason. But I see so many people trying to like break through and unlock the genius within and all that stuff. I think people are spending a lot of time and money to try to get out of their own way when all they have to do is just do it, right? And my philosophy with that is the day that your, what and your why is more important than your why not, you'll get out of your way. So if you keep oscillating like that, one easy thing that you can do right now to escape from the mental prison is make a decision on something that's more important than you, than this fucking game that everybody plays, right? And stop going to seminars to get out of your own way. So how about we just get conscious of all of this stuff that's going on and accept it as normal, right? It's important to accept thoughts and feelings as normal. We all have them. I will never have a situation in my life where I will not feel and think because of my system. My system one is always peeking in, right? My strategy and my structure, which I call the interface response system, which is what I'm teaching people, is I have these strategies of taking a pause and interrupting that urge, like I said before, right? That's what we want to accomplish. So how about we just get conscious of this and accept that all that's going on, the thoughts and the feelings, then decide based on all research and statistics, which is just mathematics and science right now, which might be wrong. But as we know right now, all research and statistics regarding forward motion and what we need to do to break the cycle is try something new. All you need to do is try something new. To be abnormal, when you expectedly feel the desire to retreat, and it's gonna happen, don't wait for a day that you believe in yourself, timing is right, and you're motivated. That's not gonna happen. And if it does, congratulations, but it's gonna happen 10 days out of the 365. So it's not a good system. Right? So when you expectedly feel the desire to retreat, don't. That's the thing that you're going to do that's new. That's what's abnormal. If you just live your life abnormally, When you see everybody going this way, go that way, that's abnormal. And by the way, normal doesn't get you anywhere, right? Release from all expectations when you do this of the outcome and need to control it with some sort of guarantee. We always like to control our outcome with some sort of a guarantee, which is why we rock back, and we justify it with these excuses, some sort of guarantee, and step into the unknown, abnormal, and trust that it's the way. You need to be able to trust that the unknown and the abnormal, the left instead of the herd right, that's the way. Now, how do we know this? Interview anybody that has what you ultimately desire. If you can dream really, really big, find somebody that has that dream life and interview them and ask them how they got it. They'll tell you this. And you're not going to be any different. So the way we break free from the mental prison is to stop listening to the guard, to you, to the little liar in your head. He's just doing his job. And remember, you trained him. So that's prison break. Love and appreciate everybody. A lot of fun stuff happening. And for those of you that are listening to this live, I'll be in Colorado the 24th and 26th. And if you're listening to this in the podcast form after, I believe that it will be something that you can acquire on video. But I'm going to be at this thing called the Purple Explosion in Colorado, Denver, Colorado, with Tim Story and Sharon Lecter and Greg Kimball and all these amazing, Coach Burt, all these people. And I'm going to do a talk, and my talk is called So it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be similar to this stuff. But anyway, love and appreciate you all. Follow me on Instagram, TikTok now, all Rise Up with Dragon. Go to riseupwithdragon.com, sign up for the newsletter, and you'll get my weekly blog and all that stuff. And then obviously you can always join me for a little Q&A and a little bit of some fun audio platform times in Clubhouse, and find me at Makes Sense. So love and appreciate you all. Thank you for allowing me to share some of my thoughts. Have a wonderful day.